I watched the first episode of Young Sherlock on Amazon Prime, and I gave my thoughts and opinions on that in an earlier review. I ended up watching the entire first season of Young Sherlock, and I'm here today to give you my thoughts. I'm not going to say all the same things that I said in the first episode review, so maybe go back and check that one out if you want the full scoop. I'm just going to pick up where I left off from the first one. So, first impression. Since I'm now talking about the entire first season, my first impression, not just of the first episode, but the entire first season, is that it was very interesting. The season had Sherlock Holmes when he was younger, and you get to see his parents and his sister, and even his brother, when usually you just get to see him and his sidekick, whose name is usually Watson. It starts off with just a mystery of solving a crime of theft, and then moves into someone getting killed at the end of the first episode. Later on, there's a chain of deaths that happen, and it goes even deeper than that, so the mystery keeps growing from the beginning, rather than there being a new case every single episode. It's basically one long drawn-out case, and him acting as the investigator of this one case, rather than being a legitimate crime investigator with numerous cases to solve. Let's see, the defining moment. So there are some spoilers moving forward, so fair warning on that. The defining moment for me of the season had to be when at one point we discovered that the princess had been kidnapped, and the girl who we thought was the princess was actually just an assassin causing all the murders. You're meant to believe that the case that he's trying to solve will be a chain of murders from the professors at Oxford, but we learn later on that that's not even what's going on, and there's more to it than that. The defining moment is when we figure out that the princess is actually an assassin, and the real princess got kidnapped, which changes the entire mood and tone of the story, and it takes a new direction from there. Let's look at the standout element. So the standout element of the season for me was when I found out that instead of there being actual separate cases and mysteries, that this is all one long drawn-out case. It starts off with a theft, then a murder, then a chain of murders, and then we find out why the professors are getting killed, which leads us into a brand new part of the story, where we figure out that Sherlock's dad is actually manufacturing weapons and selling them to governments. There's even the family drama of them thinking that Sherlock's younger sister Beatrice died when they were young, but the truth is she's just been helping her dad the entire time. So there's a huge family drama going on in the mystery. All leads to Sherlock's dad being a weapons manufacturer, and the professors were all dying because they helped manufacture those weapons. So it wasn't your normal Sherlock Holmes mystery season that went case by case with a new case every episode, but it did take us on a wild ride throughout with all the family drama and mystery that was unraveled. Let's talk about what keeps it from greatness. So I don't think anything is keeping this season from greatness, and I'd recommend it to anyone who loves mystery and thrills. If I was to nitpick on something, I would wish that it had a tad bit more comic relief in between some of the serious parts. In most movies, you have a character who has his persona that's kind of funny, but in this series, there wasn't really any funny character. Let's talk about a hot take. So in the end, Sherlock Holmes talked to his friend James, and spoiler alert, James has the formula for the weapon in the end, and he says just in case we need to make something that can stop the weapon, he has the formula. Sherlock Holmes produces a key that he found in his father's library, and we don't know where that leads to. So in classic Sherlock Holmes style, we are left with a mystery. So score and final thoughts. So I'll definitely give Young Sherlock an A. The mystery, thrills, and depth of the story kept me engaged throughout, and I only thought it was stretched out in 1 or 2 episodes that didn't have to be an hour long. I felt they could have cut out like 15 or 20 minutes from a few episodes, but this is nothing when compared to some other series where entire episodes are completely and totally lacking in depth or story. I definitely recommend you watch it because it's classic Sherlock Holmes style with new characters and new thrills. And this is Emmanuel with the Grab Some Popcorn podcast. And on this episode of Grab the Remote, you could find Young Sherlock on Amazon Prime. and I will see you guys in the next one. Over and out.